It is coming up on Mountain News this morning. We'll have the latest updates on the impeachment trial in the Senate. We'll also have a preview of the upcoming Iowa caucus and expected voter turnout. And Kentucky lawmakers are debating legislation that would prevent sanctuary cities in the Commonwealth.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:29 on Friday, January the 31st. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News this morning. Madison has the day off, but you have Brandon and I, so do not fear. You are in good hands today. It's going to be a little bit warmer, but we're to see that mercury rise throughout the weekend. Let's bring Brandon in to give us a breakdown of just what to expect as you're walking out your door on this Friday. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning to you, my friend, and good morning to you at home. We're looking again at cloud cover this morning, but no major rain yet. Let's take a look at the last 6 hours satellite radar loop, and you'll see a little bit out to the west there, very light rain into parts of Jackson, Clay, Laurel, and Pulaski counties, but that's basically the only game in town. And you see McKee still dry this morning, no activity there. That's the closest camera we have to that area except for the I-75 camera. I think it was a little bit past that one. We're looking at temperatures in the 30s and 40s this morning, 35 Ashland, 43 though in Middlesboro. That's your range, but for this time of the year, those 40s are close to what we should be for daytime highs. 51 today. Chances for rain will pick up, becoming more scattered by the afternoon. But as we look ahead, sunshine finally makes a return as we head toward Super Bowl Sunday, and warmer temperatures will be in the forecast, at least for a little while, early next week. All those details coming up in a little bit. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, the Senate wrapped up its second and final day of questions and answers in President Trump's impeachment trial. The next question is if we will be hearing from witnesses. As CBS's Deborah Alfourn reports, if it's a no, the entire trial could be wrapped up later tonight.
Tennessee's Lamar Alexander says he'll vote no on witnesses in President Trump's impeachment trial. The retiring senator said there's no need because the House managers have proved it was inappropriate for the president to ask a foreign leader to investigate his political opponent. But he added it is not an impeachable offense, a similar argument made by the president's legal team.
Even if everything you say is true, that's not an impeachable offense under the law.
Democrats need 4 Republicans to vote with them to secure new witnesses. Chief Justice John Roberts, who has presided over the trial, could decide if he wants to break a possible 50-50 tie.
We have an obligation to at least pose the question to the Chief Justice, will you weigh in on the side of the constitutional responsibility of the Senate?
Yesterday, House managers tried to convince Republican holdouts to hear from witnesses. Maine's Susan Collins announced last night that she'll join them, while Alaska's Lisa Murkowski said she'll decide later today.
As a trial as any 10-year-old knows, we should have witnesses.
Lead House manager Adam Schiff says it would take only 1 week to hear from them.
Oh my God, we can't hear what John Bolton has to say. God forbid we should hear what a relevant witness has to say.
President Trump mocked the effort at a rally in Iowa yesterday.
Shifting and turning in his bed, sweating like a dog. How am I going to get him? He didn't do anything wrong. How am I going to get him?
If no witnesses are called, the Senate may vote on the president's possible acquittal tonight. Deborah Alfourn, CBS News, Washington.
Now, if witnesses are called, Republicans say they want to hear from the Bidens and the whistleblower. Meanwhile, Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts refused to read a question from Kentucky Senator Rand Paul Thursday. Paul's question included the name of the Ukraine whistleblower. Roberts, who presides over President Trump's Senate impeachment trial, declined to read the question just a few seconds after receiving the cue card.
Senator from Kentucky.
I have a question to present to the desk for the House Manager Schiff and for the President's Counsel.
Thank you. The presiding officer declines to read the question as submitted.
Now, before the question and answer period started, Roberts clearly stated that he would not read the name of the whistleblower, nor would he consider questions that would move to clearly identify the individual. Meanwhile, in other political news, 2020 candidates are descending on the Hawkeye state days ahead of the Iowa caucuses. However, Whoever wins this has momentum in the race to the White House. Our chief national political analyst explains.
Hello, I'm Greta Van Susteren, and here is your full court fast break. The Iowa caucus is the all-exciting unofficial start of the campaign year. And this year, there are new rules. That means things will look different this go-around. Monday, thousands of voters gather across the state. They will stand in designated corners in schools, churches, and community centers, signaling support for their candidate. A presidential hopeful needs 15% of the room to advance forward. If a candidate does not get that 15%, their supporters have three choices: coax people to join them on their side of the room, move on to their second choice, or decide to not realign. Next step, a second count called the final alignment. Those results determine the number of delegates awarded to each candidate. In past elections, the Iowa Democratic Party only shared state delegate equivalents. This year, transparency. They are announcing results from each step of the process. So, we will get the raw numbers from the first alignment, the final alignment, and the state delegate equivalents. That means, depending on how you spin it, there could technically be 3 different winners. But in the end, the candidate with the most delegates has a head start in the marathon of primaries. Want more full court press? Tune in Sunday. We take the show on the road to the Hawkeye State.
Now, Iowa Democrats are preparing for record turnout in Monday's caucuses, aiming to send a message beyond the party's contest to pick a nominee and on to the general election. President Trump won Iowa overwhelmingly in 2016, but in the 2018 midterms, Democrats flipped 2 congressional seats, 4 state house seats, and other local offices, all driven by movement in the suburbs.
Much more motivated, much more willing to get out and knock doors, to work on campaigns, to organize, to raise money. I have suburban mom friends who have their own political action committees.
Democrats say Monday's results will provide key data points for the general election. 2019 was a tough year for American farmers. U.S. farm bankruptcies jumped 20% last year. That is the highest level since 2011, when the country was still recovering from the Great Recession. This despite $28 billion in aid extended to farmers in the past couple of years. According to the American Farm Bureau, 595 family farms declared Chapter 12 bankruptcy. Well, strong winds gusting across Southern California have toppled several panels of a new barrier being installed along the U.S.-Mexico border. The U.S. Border Patrol said the panels fell into Mexican territory Wednesday, about 100 miles east of San Diego. The 30-foot-tall panels had just been anchored in concrete that had not yet set when the gusts hit. The panels fell onto a road. It took more than 3 years, but Brexit begins tonight. The United Kingdom is leaving the European Union, a long-standing political union that includes more than 24 European countries. The country is the first to divorce itself from the EU, enacting the results of a 2016 referendum. Despite Brexit, the UK will still be part of the single market and customs union until the end of next year.
We are still here, we are still fighting it, we're not going away, and we're going to hold this government to account. They've made a lot of promises to the British people, and now we're going to be here to hold them to those promises.
Travel between the UK and EU will not change during the 11-month transition, according to the European Tourism Association. The head of a well-known Christian university is adding his voice to those calling for some Virginia residents to secede to West Virginia, and Governor Jim Justice is all for it. During a news conference on Tuesday, Justice and Liberty University President Jerry Falwell Jr. discussed their intended announcement that they support a resolution that would allow Virginia counties to become part of West Virginia. Talks of the resolution coming as a result of Democratic control in Virginia's capital and the belief that Democratic legislation is infringing on Virginians' rights.
They're using their power to strip away the God-given rights held by every person in the state, despite their protections under the U.S. Constitution. The Democrats are anti-life, anti-Second Amendment, anti-liberty, and even anti-business.
Liberty University, located in Lynchburg, Virginia, is a private evangelical Christian university started by Falwell's father, a well-known preacher. Well, back here in our Commonwealth, it's one of the top priorities for the Kentucky Senate, a bill that, if passed, would stop cities from enacting sanctuary policies for immigration. Supporters say it's simply to help police, but opponents say it could lead to more profiling and problems for immigrants who are in Kentucky legally. WYMT's Phil Pendleton sat in on the nearly 2-hour-long discussion and debate on the bill yesterday.
And if there is a city that passes a sanctuary law,
Senate Bill 1 is headed to the Senate floor after a 7-2 vote in the Judiciary Committee.
this is not a statement on immigration policy in this country. This is a law enforcement issue.
Senator Danny Carroll says this bill is about making sure police are not stopped from working with the feds should a city want to enact a sanctuary or a safe haven for undocumented immigrants.
If we set the precedent to not allow that, what is next? Do we tell our law enforcement they can't participate with DEA or the FBI?
What Senate Bill 1 proposes is a tactic tried across the country before.
5 people spoke out against the bill. Some said that will lead to more profiling and require police to conduct actions they're not ready for.
How is an untrained law enforcement officer able to enforce immigration law without significant education and training?
I promise you, my senators, none of us do this for fun. None of us do it to steal or commit crimes against the place that offered us a home when ours was taken.
Supporters say most of the opposition is from misinformation and believe most Kentuckians support it.
And it's disappointing that the statements that were just made at this table are going to scare illegal immigrants in this state from seeking the services that they need.
The bill would also impact universities, but would exempt local school districts, rape crisis and domestic violence shelters, and child advocacy centers. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The bill could be voted on in the full Senate next week. Well, in other state news, with Governor Beshear's budget proposal, new optimism surrounds a Letcher County project. The Raven Rock Resort and Casino is back in the spotlight after the governor included sports wagering in his 2-year budget. But while casino gambling still has yet to be fully proposed, the organizers of Raven Rock feel their backs could be up against a wall.
You know, we do feel like we're a little bit under the gun here, but we also think that the state needs a new source of revenue, and a big source of revenue. Everybody's talking about these little projects that might bring in $1 million or $1 million here, $1 million there, but it's really not enough at the end of the day.
Griffith says if Raven Rock was green-lighted, it could pull in roughly $300 million annually in tax revenue.
Few stray showers around this morning as you head out the door. We're going to continue to see that on live pinpoint Doppler radar. Nothing too major just yet. We'll see those better chances come a little later this afternoon. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, 35 Ashland, 43 Jonesville. That's your range this morning. But most folks closer to 40 there or just above. So that's a stark contrast what we've seen the last few days, especially this early in the morning. 51 this afternoon. Scattered rain chances pick up as we head deeper into the day. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we have stories that are trending on WYMT.com next. Thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Coming up, the CEO of an organization that plans to bring jobs to parts of the area is stepping down. We'll tell you who will take his place and why some business owners in Floyd County are frustrated following a water outage.